Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Um, Kind of want to do an old school versus new school, then versus now, kind of the pros and cons and some of the changes I've seen in the industry, the trucking industry. Probably go down a rabbit hole and tell a few stories here and there, but um, we'll start out with the pros of then, because I'm an old school driver, so I've been trucking for almost 26 years now, 25, 26 years. Uh, which, of course, we had less regulation and the oversight was there, but it wasn't really there. We didn't have ELDs, we had paper logs. I'm sure you've heard stories of drivers running 2 or 3 logbooks at a time and, you know, knowing which logbook to give to the officer during the inspections. And if they were to make the mistake of giving the wrong logbook to the officer, that could be bad. We had more flexibility then to control our hours. I mean, naturally, yeah, you could rewrite history, but if you were tired, you could take a half-hour break or an hour break, and it wasn't mandatory. It. I guess we were. I don't want to say we were outlaws, but the potential to be an outlaw was there, I guess. Um, the earning potential was there. We didn't have like the big mega carriers back then, like Schneider, Werner, Swift. They were coming up, but they weren't as big as they are now. I think when I was coming up, Swift or not Swift, JB Hunt was like the premier big company. Excuse me, I've been talking all day. But yeah, the big carriers weren't there to push down rates. Hauling cheap freight. Uh, we had more independence then. Um, we weren't micromanaged. I guess we felt more like cowboys of the highway. You know, uh, we had a simpler technology. We didn't have GPS or cell phones. Uh, all we had was, you know, for getting directions, you had a CB. You get on there and holler for local info, and you had a road atlas, and you get up in the morning, you go into the truck stop and order your breakfast, and get on the payphone and call either the broker or the customer and get directions from where you were or what exit off the highway you were getting off of. Uh, there was a lot more interaction with drivers. We were a tighter community then. Um, the sit down restaurants are all but gone now. But yeah, you would sit and they actually just had a driver's area, and it was usually the counter spaces. And you'd sit there and you'd drink coffee for, I think it was 25 cents when I started, for, a bottomless cup of coffee, which you could buy the trucker's breakfast when I started for like $1.75. And that was like 2 eggs, toast, and whatever kind of meat you wanted with hash browns and coffee. But and the truck stop waitresses, they were something special. uh, Usually they didn't take any BS off of the drivers and they give it right back. The banter back and forth was awesome. A lot of fun. We didn't have, um, well, we had radio shows. You'd have to tune your radio as you went from town to town. Um, like we had the Truck and Bozo and Bill Mack, the Midnight Cowboy, Dave Nemo, Dale Summers. At night, you would listen to either Bill Mack, the Midnight Cowboy, or Coast to Coast with Art Bell originally, and then George Norrie took his place whenever Art retired. But that's some of the pros I thought of about then. Guess some of the pros of now. Safety is definitely improved. Um, in theory, ELDs they supposed to cause less fatigue. I don't know. I That's an argument there. That might be a different video, a longer video talking about ELDs. Uh, they're supposed to make drivers less fatigued, but in some ways, I think it causes more stress and frustration and more fatigue than you know running a logbook, a paper logbook did. Um, the advance in trucks has been amazing. Air ride, AC that actually blows cold air. Um, the sleepers are bigger, more comfortable. Uh, the first truck that I learned to drive in, it was an International Eagle, and it had what was considered a condo then, which we would probably consider a mid roof now. It had a double bunk in it, but it still had the single sleepers, the single mattresses in them. So you really didn't have a whole lot of room to roll around in your sleep. And the top bunk folded down, and it was like sleeping on a cot. Now we have GPSs and cell phones and satellite radio, and you can listen to pretty much anything through your phone through Bluetooth. Uh, you got Amazon Music, and I use the Libby app a lot to listen to books that I can check out of the library. That was another thing that we used to do back in the day was we had um, you could actually rent. You had to join the club. It was like a cassette club, and you would join that for I think it was like a one time or a yearly fee, and then each book on cassette at first, and then they eventually moved to books on CD. But you would return it to a different truck stop, and you could get you could rent. I think we could rent up to like three books on tape, and as you listen to them, you drop them to different truck stops. So you always had a different selection. Uh, the demand for drivers is a lot higher now. Um, you got more choices now. When I started out, you had to either know somebody in the industry or be born into the industry. There's a lot of second and third generation drivers out here. We're kind of a dying breed now, but the training has drastically improved. That's what I do now. I still consider myself a driver, but I'm in a training role now, as you can tell by the hotel. Um, I train new drivers on uh, operating chemical tanks and pneumatic tanks and hazmat. But the training is drastically improved. Um, you don't get as many bad habits or learn things the hard way or the wrong way now. The training's a lot more thorough. The cons of then, the old school, uh, again, the safety rating was in the crapper. Uh, there was a lot less enforcement on maintenance. I mean, I remember seeing trucks on the road that had no business being on the road. It costs a lot to maintain these things, and the margin of profit is, you can make a lot of money out here, but as an owner operator, you're spending a lot more than you do as a company driver. Company driver, the company takes care of the truck. As an owner operator, you're responsible for your fuel, your insurance, your certificates, uh, your fuel taxes, and maintenance is the biggest expense. Um, the paper logs again was a bit of a con because the dispatchers knew that you could rewrite history, so to speak. And I remember being pushed when I first got into the business. It was, hey, we need this load here now. And you'd say, well, there's no way I can make it. Well, drive until you get there. And it was easy to get burned out. Equipment, we we didn't have the air ride was kind of a new technology. It was an expensive technology when it first came out. um, I remember the AC was cool-ish. uh, yeah, it didn't it kept you from roasting, but it kept you from being well done. You'd wake up medium rare. um, the home time was terrible and miserable back then. I missed a lot of holidays, birthdays, family functions, and I mean, my family and I have made peace with that, but still, there's always that regret that you didn't get to you know see them blow out their candles on their birthday. Um, Navigations again, that was we didn't have GPS. We had to go by directions that we got from either a broker or the customer themselves. You turn your CB, easier for me to say, turn your CB on to channel 19. We used to call it Sesame Street. And you get on there and you'd holler, hey, I need some local info. And hopefully somebody, was local there or knew where you were going. And they'd get you there most of the time. It and of course the new school, it has its bad too. The regulations and strict enforcement. That's a double-edged sword, also, I guess. That's probably another video in the future. You know, we are the trucking industry is more regulated than the commercial airlines are. Our physicals and training is, I don't want to say our training, but we have to maintain more of I don't want to say a higher standard, but it's different, I guess, is what I want to say. Your ELDs, they reduce your flexibility, you know, unlike being able to rewrite history with a paper log. And again, that's another video for another time. Uh, Another con is, there's more surveillance, more micromanagement. Um, it just seems to cut into that feeling of freedom, I guess. The rates are a lot lower. The fuel prices are a lot higher. Actually, everything's higher right now. It parking now is atrocious. If you're not in a truck stop or rest area and parked by like 5 o'clock, good luck finding someplace. And then the latest thing in the last few years that truck stops have started doing is they have paid parking, and they mark off huge swaths of their parking lot for paid parking. And you can spend anywhere from 20 to $100 on parking overnight. I remember used to, whenever you get fuel, I mean, you still get a shower now, but it used to be whenever you fill up at a truck stop, you'd get a shower coupon, you'd get coffee, and you could park there and nobody would bother you or charge you for it. Some places like 76 and TA would actually give you a discount on your dinner if you bought so many gallons of fuel. And of course, traffic has gotten insane lately. A lot more people traveling on the roads, and the cities have gotten larger and more densely populated. And it just, some days out here, it just sucks in the traffic. But tell me what you think in the comments there. If I missed anything, if you want to argue about anything, hit me down there and we'll hash it out. Until next time, I'll catch you down the road. Don't forget, be a blessing to somebody and be the reason somebody has a good day. We'll catch you later.